If you've ever built a serverless app, you probably know the pain of the dreaded cold start. Well, today, we're not just going to solve that super frustrating lag, we're also going to lock down your app's security. We're going to take it from a fun side project to a truly production-ready service. Let's dive in.
Okay, so this all kicks off with a story that's going to sound painfully familiar to anyone who's worked with serverless. You've got a developer, they build a slick Slack bot on Cloud Run, they've optimized everything, it's super efficient, but that very first request, timeout. Of course, the second request works perfectly, and this isn't a bug in their code, it's just a fundamental part of how the serverless model works.
I mean, does that sound familiar? If you've ever built a serverless app and just stared at the screen thinking, why is it so slow the first time I run it, you are definitely not alone. You have just experienced a serverless cold start. It's maybe one of the most common gotchas in the entire serverless world.
So what exactly is a cold start? Well, it's the time it takes for the cloud platform to spin up a brand new, fresh environment just for your code. It has to find some resources, download your code, and actually start your application. All of this happens before your code even begins to run, adding precious and sometimes fatal seconds of latency to that first request.
So let's frame this in the real world. That Slack bot we were talking about, it has to respond in under 3 seconds, or Slack just gives up and calls it a failure. So when a cold start takes longer than that, the application doesn't just feel slow, it's actually broken. It's a failed user experience, plain and simple.
So the big question, how do we fix this? The good news is we've got a whole menu of strategies, and they range from some pretty clever community workarounds all the way to official built-in solutions from Google Cloud. The real key here is understanding the trade-offs that come with each one.
Okay, so this table really lays out the whole spectrum. On the community hack side of things, you've got the scheduled ping. It's this clever, super cheap way to just keep an instance warm. We're talking pennies a day. A more robust hack uses a pub subqueue, which lets you instantly acknowledge a request while a different process handles the heavy lifting in the background. Now, for maximum performance, you could go all out and rewrite your app in a compiled language like Go. It starts way faster because it doesn't need a runtime to interpret the code. And then you've got the official fix, setting min instances to 1. It's by far the easiest solution. Guaranteeing an instance is always ready, but it does come with a dedicated monthly cost.
So the crucial point here is that there's no single best answer. It all depends. Do you need the absolute lowest latency and you're willing to pay a little for it? Min instances is your best friend. Are you on a super tight budget and a simple workaround is good enough? The scheduled ping is a great little hack. You know, engineering is really all about making these kinds of informed trade-offs. All right, so now we have this whole menu of potential fixes. But how do we actually test them without going crazy? I mean, deploying to the cloud every single time you make a tiny change is slow. It's frustrating. The pro approach is to build a local lab for your fixes, right on your own machine.
And the key to this whole local lab setup is a fantastic open source tool called the Functions Framework. What it does is it lets you run the exact same runtime environment that Google Cloud uses, but right on your laptop. This is a complete game changer for development speed. No more deploying just to see if you fixed a tiny bug.
And getting started is surprisingly simple. You just install the framework, you start a local server, and then you authenticate your command line to Google Cloud. You do this using something called Application Default Credentials, or ADC. And this part is key. It's how your local code securely finds and uses your cloud credentials to talk to other cloud services just like it would in production. From there, you can trigger your function with a simple command and test your changes in seconds, not minutes.
And this quote just brilliantly illustrates the real power of testing this way. By authenticating and impersonating the exact same service account your function will use in the cloud, you can test your code with the exact same permissions. That means no more nasty surprises where your code works perfectly on your machine, but then fails in the cloud because of some permissions issue you didn't see coming.
Okay, so our function is fast. We can test it efficiently. We're ready for production, right? Not so fast. We have to ask the most critical question before we launch anything. Is it secure? Because let's be honest, performance means absolutely nothing if your application is vulnerable.
So the foundational concept for pretty much all of cloud security is something called the principle of least privilege, or PULP. The idea is really simple. An identity, whether that's a user or a service, should only have the absolute bare minimum permissions it needs to do its job and nothing more. This dramatically shrinks your attack surface.
So here's the danger, the thing that catches so many people out. By default, when you create a cloud function, it runs with a service account that has the editor role for your entire Google Cloud project.
I mean, it's convenient for getting started for sure, but it is a massive security risk in production. How big of a risk are we talking about? The default editor role grants somewhere around 8,000 individual permissions. 8,000! So if an attacker manages to compromise your function, they've just hit the jackpot. They could steal data, delete all of your resources, or even run up a huge bill spinning up crypto miners on your dime. I mean, just look at this comparison. On the left, you've got the default account with its 8,000 permissions and access to the whole project. And on the right, you have a custom service account built just for our function, with a custom role that grants exactly 2 permissions. The difference in the potential blast radius here is just staggering. To make this really concrete, let's use a classic serverless example, a function that automatically creates a thumbnail anytime a new image gets uploaded to a cloud storage bucket. It's simple, it's practical, and it is the perfect case study for applying least privilege.
So let's think about it. What does this thumbnail function actually need to do its job? Well, it needs permission to read the original image from the bucket, and it needs permission to write the new thumbnail back into the bucket. That's it. 2 permissions, not 8,000, just 2. And here is the 4-step playbook to do this the right way. First, you create a custom IAM role, that's Identity and Access Management, and you put only those 2 specific permissions in it. Second, you create a brand new service account that will only be used by this one function. Third, you assign that new custom role to your new service account. And finally, you deploy your function. But this time, you tell it to run as this new, tightly restricted identity. And the result? It's a function that perfectly embodies the principle of least privilege. It's fast, it's efficient, and most importantly, it's secure. It has exactly the permissions it needs to do its job, and not a single one more. This right here is the hallmark of a professional, production-grade serverless application. So let's bring it all home. We've basically followed the entire journey from a really common developer frustration, that dreaded cold start, all the way to a secure, professional, and totally production-ready deployment. So what are the biggest things to take away from all this? First, know that cold starts are real, but you have a whole menu of options to manage them. Second, make your life easier and speed up your workflow by using the functions framework to test locally. Third, and this one is so critical, never use default service accounts in production. And finally, building on that, always apply the principle of least privilege by creating dedicated custom roles for every single function.
And that really just leaves us with a final question for you to think about. For your next serverless project, now that you're armed with this knowledge, how are you going to navigate those critical trade-offs between cost, speed, and security to build something truly robust? Thanks for tuning in.